problem.
All right, welcome everybody to another painting party with Shelby. Shelby, I will let you take it away. What are we doing today?
Okay, I will show you. Today we are making a little Hawaiian beach scene. This is an example that I will be doing during this thing, but you can adjust it however you want. You can put all the trees and stuff wherever you want, but this is what I will be doing today, and you can follow along if you want. And then, and this is not my own painting. It's a painting inspired by Jenny Floravita. She makes a lot of really cool Hawaiian type style paintings and stuff that I thought was really cool. So I'm excited to do this. And for your supplies, I've got a dark blue, a light blue, a dark green, a light green. My hand's getting too small. And then a yellow, a red, black, and brown. So just about every color you can think of. If you don't have some of these colors, that's okay, because a lot of these colors you can mix with other colors. So really all that you actually need is white, black, red, yellow, and blue, because you can make anything with those colors, but you can work with even less if you want to. So no problem there. You don't have to have all of it. And then I've got a little paint palette. I've got 3 different paint brushes of varying sizes. And I've got paper towels to clean up mess. And I've got a little water cup to rinse my brushes. So let me put all these back. And so what we're going to start with, what we're going to start with is we're going to make the sand for our beach. So what we'll want to do to make sand is we'll want to combine some white, if I can open this brown, you'll want to use brown too, but you can separate all of these colors at first and mix them little by little until you get the color that you want, because it's kind of hard to tell how much of each color you need while you're putting it in your palette. And if you mix it all up and then it's not the right color, then you just have to keep adding more and more and more. And so you don't really want to waste your paints that way, but so I have a brown here, a yellow here, and a white here. And I'm just going to mix a little bit of yellow and a little bit of brown in this white. And then eventually that'll turn into a nice little sandy color. Okay, you can kind of tell that this is becoming like a light tan sand color. So we're going to go ahead and just cover the parts of the beach that you want to be sandy. So like I showed you before, my beach was going to be on the left side, or my left. I don't know how you guys can see me, but we'll just put some sand down this way. And you can thin out your paint a lot if you want to. It'll help it spread easier on your paper if you add a little bit of water to your brush and mix it up in the color that you're blending. And then you can keep mixing your colors. And we'll just continue to do that. Mine's looking a little yellow, and I don't want it to be too yellow, so I'm going to just add a little bit extra brown and add it to my sandy color. And so that when I go over it, it'll kind of mix with that yellow, but it'll mostly cover it up a little bit. Okay, and then I want my beach to kind of wrap around this way. So we'll have like all of the blue ocean on this side, and then we'll have a little bit of a beach over this way. I'm just going to kind of put some sand this way. You can kind of tell here, I'm starting with the sand because here you can tell that there's the same color of sand all the way back here, here, and here. So I'm just going to do a whole layer so that I don't miss any spots, and all of them can get seen and noticed. Can you guys hear me okay? If you can hear me okay? Is it a little glitchy?
There's a little bit of feedback, but we can still hear you just fine.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure how to switch my microphone, but just let me know if it gets worse, and I'll see if I can come up with something. Okay, and so next I want to work on our pretty sky. So I'm going to combine this light blue. It might be light, but it's not as light as you think it is, so you're going to have to mix it with some white. So I'm just going to put some next to the white that I had down earlier for my sand, so I'm not wasting any paint. And we'll rinse off our brush in our little water cup, liquid motivation. I don't drink it. Don't drink your paint water. And then we'll just mix it up with this white until it's a real light blue. Just what you would imagine in Hawaii. I've never been to Hawaii. I would really love to go. I think it would be really pretty. But instead I'm here, so I'm just going to paint it. So I'm just kind of doing a white layer of whitish blue right over the top. All right, that is looking very nice and tropical. So I'm going to rinse off my brush, wipe it on a little paper towel, and then now you can grab your darker blue and we'll start working on the ocean. Really mind using this plain dark blue for the water because the water is pretty dark and everything else seems to be pretty light right now, and you want to add contrast to your paint so that it's really interesting and it's kind of like, whoa, that's light, that's dark, whoa. So we'll be just kind of sticking around with this darker blue over here. We might add white later on top so that we can give it a little bit of depth, but for now I'm just going to stick with this darker blue. And I'm just going to cover this whole side. Now I'm going to take some of my lighter blue and a little bit of white and just kind of near the shore, I'm just going to plop this around like it's no big deal. Because as the water becomes shallower, the lighter it'll become in color. So closer to the shore, we can add a lot more light blue and white, and it'll create a nice illusion. Add a little bit of color here. And your water doesn't really have to look like water. It just has to remind people of water, if you know what I mean. Water is a very hard thing to paint, but water is free-flowing, and it's just cruising along. So as long as you kind of put that energy into your brushes, then it'll come out just fine, no matter what. All right, that's looking like a beach. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to rinse off my big brush. Dry it off. Drying it off also helps get some of the extra paint out that didn't come out with the water. Kind of a little cheat for that. Okay, and so now we're gonna go and fill in the darkest parts of the trees and the brush and everything. So whenever you are painting nature or a lot of nature, I guess, you're always gonna, or I guess this kind of goes for most things, but I won't say that it goes for everything. But you always want to start with the darkest colors first. Because going over it will kind of show that like there's light shining on it and it's darker within. So if you start out darker and add the colors that are lighter on top, it'll give a really nice illusion that there is depth there. So what I've done is I've put some black here and some green, some darker green here. And I don't want to mix it up all the way because otherwise it'll just be black. Black can really affect the colors. I don't know why, but black just, it goes a long way. You really never need a lot of black, but but so I'm just kind of getting a little random amount of black and a random amount of green, and I'm just gonna dot away. If you were here last time, we kind of did this with the trees. We just kind of dotted until it looked like a tree. It's really easy, super relaxing. There's no stress. We're just dotting. So I'm just adding a big green forest that's going to wrap all the way around here, kind of like this one. It'll just kind of go all the way around. So it's going to be pretty thick. We'll have to do a couple of layers, but there's nothing wrong with that. I kind of lost my paint. I'm getting pretty dark, so I'm just going to go back to using my dark green instead of adding the black. And so the brush I'm using has that little tip on it. And the nice thing about having a brush with the little tip on it is that whenever you're painting your trees, it kind of looks like the top of a tree whenever you put it on there. So that's a quick little cheat. You don't know how to draw a tree, you can just, boom, there's a tree, easy. Boop, boop, boop. So you'll want to fill in all of those white spots. We'll come back in with a white at the end and add some shiny stuff and some extra little highlights, but you don't want any of the white from the background showing. Or light blue. My light blue is pretty close to white. And I want this to go just a little bit taller. Kind of let it rise up the side of the page. Coming along. Okay, so now I also want to add a little bush right down here. Kind of repeat the pattern of the leaves on a different part of your painting. And that's something that you'll have, if you are a painter, you'll know that an important part of a painting is repeating textures or patterns in your work so that when people are looking at your work, they can make those connections and create ties to your work. So we're just going to add a little fun bush down here. And I'm doing it in my dark green and black still, because we'll be adding much lighter colored leaves to this one later on. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to rinse my brush here. Swirl that around. Get rid of my extra water. And now I'm going to start with the rocky cliffs that I have on here. So you can see that they kind of come from the edge and then taper out into the other side of the painting. So what we'll do to start with that one is we'll just use our brown. I didn't have any of my apple barrel brown, so I just have this other acrylic brown. Any brown is going to work because we'll be layering over that too. Oh, I actually still have some brown in my palette because I didn't mix it. So that's perfect. Use some of my brown, and now I'm just going to kind of line the trees here. I'm just going to make a little mass of rock. It'll come out here. I'm just going to make it kind of rough on top and then more smooth on the bottom. Because on the bottom, it's cut off by water and sand, while on the top, it's got all the jagged edges that have been affected by rain and waves crashing. So we'll just do that. Okay, and now I'm going to do my second one. You might have that coming around a little bit. And then this one is going to be a little bit more jagged. You can see more of the details since it's closer to you. And I'm just using this single brown for now. We'll go back over it and add some extra details with different colors and stuff after it dries. So I gave this guy a little bump. A little crazy rock. You can make your rocks look however you want because rocks look crazy. You ever been to the Grand Canyon? It's insane. It's a lot of rock. Rocks can look however you want them to be. Kind of looks like a big poop, but it won't look like a big poop for long. I'm running out of brown. There it is. Fell underneath me. So I just got a little bit more brown. I'll finish this up right here. Give it some extra rockiness. So you can see how my paintbrush is kind of creating this weird texture. And a way that you can avoid that is just by adding more water to your brush. It just means that your brush is dry and there's not enough paint on it. So you can just add a little bit more water, mix it around in your paint, and then boom, clean lines for days. Handy little trick. Perfect. And now I'm going to fill in these little white spots that I didn't quite get earlier. Okay. That's a couple of solid rocks. So I'm going to rinse this brush. And now we're going to add the trunks to our palm trees. So what you'll need to do is not use this brush. I'll just keep those right there. We can all keep an eye on them. Perfect. Okay, so what we'll do is mix a little bit of brown, more brown than what you did the sand, and a little bit of yellow, and a little bit of white, just until you think you've got a nice little tree trunk color. Just doing a lightish tan brown. You can kind of see that here. But yeah, so any color of tree trunk you want. I mean, they really do come in a lot of colors. Mostly brown, but whatever you want. Perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna I want this line to be pretty clean, so I'm going to mix some water, just a bit, with my paint so that I can get a pretty clean line. And we're just gonna kind of start right here. Looks kind of funny, looks like a floating noodle, but it won't look like that the whole time. So we'll do that one, and then we'll kind of throw another one in here. It's just coming out of that brush. And grab a little more water. Clean up my line a little bit. I'm a sucker for clean lines, but you do not have to have a clean line for this to look good, I promise. And then I'm going to add one more right here. All right. 3 floating noodles. Perfect. So we'll rinse our little brush. Put it on the paper towel. Okay. So the reason that I put the trunks before I finished the rest of the jungle is because we're going to add a lot more leaves in lighter colors to the jungle, and we'll add those over the top of these, and it'll look more like they're coming out of the brush instead of just floating on top of the jungle. So it's just like doing it layer by layer will make it look more and more realistic. So we'll put that down. Grab my blotting brush that I use for my blotting, and so I have my dark green in here. So I'm gonna just take some dark green and mix it around in my yellow. Just make it a lighter green. It doesn't have to be any specific color. Just make a little bit lighter of a green. I also have this very light lime tree green. We'll be using that eventually, but I'm not going to use it right now. I'm just going to mix up my dark green and my yellow for this. So now we're just going to do exactly what we did earlier, except we're not going to cover everything. We're just going to go over it a little bit with our lighter green instead of our green and black. We're just dotting. Even if you think you're not good at art, everyone can do a dot, dot, dot. You know what I'm saying? Boom, boom, boom. I kind of want this green to be a little lighter, so I'm just going to add more yellow. Easy peasy. Boom, look at that pop. So back here, I'm going to make my leaves much smaller by blotting smaller. And then up here, these are up close. So I'm going to make my blocks really big, so just press a little bit harder. Fun. Okay, awesome. So we're going to just keep doing that, except that I'm going to do it in my little bush down here. And if your leaves come off a little bit, that's okay. Maybe there's some sticks that you can't see, you know, that are branching off. So you got some leaves floating up here. That is looking like a lush jungle, if you ask me. Okay, so now I would say that all of this is dry. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in with just plain white. So I'm just going to grab some more white because mine kind of mixed up with my other colors. If yours has a little bit of blue in it, that's fine. But I've just got some white here. And we're just going to do some really rough lines that just kind of line everything. Just willy-nilly. There's nothing to it. I have no science behind this. So the edges, like I said earlier, the closer you get to shore, the lighter your water will be. So at the edges of the shore, we're just going to make this pretty white. It's also a good time to cover up any mistakes you've made because that's what I do. So we'll just kind of have our white, make a little Kind of looks like the waves are crashing into the rocks. And you can tell that I'm kind of going in a horizontal motion while I'm putting the paint down, and that's because the water is moving this way. You know how I said you want to just create the movement of the water while you're painting it? It doesn't have to look like water, it just has to move like water. So you just whoosh, whoosh. Easy peasy, it can't look wrong. Yeah. A little bit of blue here. A tiny little bit of that light blue. And then got my white. Put some in here. Grab some of my light blue again and kind of just combine it with the white so that the white isn't so stark against the darker blue that we had. All right, that is looking pretty good to me. So I'm gonna rinse off my brush real quick. You don't have to too much because we'll still be using white and stuff with this one. Because what we are doing next is we are going to add the details to the tops of our rocks, because right now they just look like weird brown poops. And we don't want that. We don't want poop on our beach. That's weird. So just like this one, it kind of looks like it was going to be a poop. But it's got all of these light brown, white, and black marks in it that make the tops of it look really jagged and rocky. So that's what we're going to do next. And you can, like I said, there's no specifics to what a rock looks like. So you can just grab your black, kind of put it wherever you want. I'm just doing some blots here, some blots there. It's like, oh, I could imagine a little divot in my rock right there. I'm just going to put a little black mark, make it darker than the rest. You might not be able to see it right now, but when it's up against the light brown that we're going to make, you'll be able to see the black really easily. Rinse, rinse, rinse. And then just combine a little bit of your brown that you used for this with some white. Whatever shade. I've got this really medium brown, kind of like the trees. I didn't add any yellow this time, but if you want to. And I'm just going to say, I could imagine a little highlight there on my rock. So we're just going to imagine where the light is glinting off of the sharp edges of our rocks. And we're just going to paint it there. I could imagine a little one right there. I bet these rocks are really slippery and wet from this water, so it's probably glistening a lot. So we're just going to keep adding however much you want. Maybe yours are really dry. Okay, and now I'm just going to wipe this off. You don't really need to rinse it that much. Grab your white. Mine's a much lighter brown than last time, practically almost white. got some brown tints in it. But I'm just going to go in and make some even smaller glints. Or maybe you want a big poop on your island. Works for me. Actually, that doesn't work for me. Don't do that. Just kidding. Just adding some really tiny little spots. Okay, that's looking like a jagged rock if I've ever seen one. So I'm gonna rinse this brush off real quick. Dry it off even quicker. And now, I think I might even use the same brush. We're gonna work on our palm trees. So our palm trees are still sticks. So we're going to kind of complete those. So I'm gonna take my brown and mix it up, throw some yellow in there. That's what I think I need. If you guys want more color, you can add some white. Maybe a little bit of blue would make it really fun, just a tiny little smidge of blue. But we're going to start with the middle of our palm trees, which is where the coconuts are. So we're going to just kind of create a little coconut shape. They're round. That's all I know. So we're going to create some round shapes. Nothing too fancy. It's just coconut trees. I'm going to grab a little bit extra yellow though. I'm just going to kind of plot this around on my coconuts because they are shining in that sun. Look at the sky. It's a beautiful day. So there we go. We have some coconuts. I'm going to talk real quick. Okay, so now I'm going to use my dark green. Mix it with a little bit of yellow. All right. Oops, accidentally got some black in there. Who knows? Maybe my leaves have black in them. Yours can. So we're going to just go with a slight little line with a small curve. And then to create the leaves on the leaf, you know how they have the branching out in the leaves? The leaves have leaves. So we're going to create the leaves in the leaves. And so you know how I said earlier, the tip of your paintbrush kind of works for a little tip of a tree. It also works for a little tip of a leaf. So we're going to just boom, 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 boom. Easy, easy. I was shocked when I tried it for the first time. Gosh, I could draw palm trees all day. Just paint forever. So we're just going to do it again. I'll have this one kind of drooping off a little bit. Maybe this one's a little sad. Boom, 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 boom. Maybe a little extra on the tip. And you're just going to keep doing that. Eventually, I'll switch to a different color, and we'll have some brown leaves, some dark green, create some variety. Okay, palm done with this color, so I'm just going to move to my brown. Do some brown leaves. You can kind of see here what my other brown leaves look like. There's a nice variety there. So fall over. I might fall over. Ah, that works for me. Okay, so I've got, like I said, with my clean lines, you just put a little bit of water in your brush, mix it up with the paint you want, and it'll create really clean lines for you so that your leaves aren't, you know, blotchy and hard to decipher. But yeah, so we're just gonna keep doing what we've been doing. So that's what I mean. Gotta get those clean lines, you know? If you want, you don't have to do anything I'm doing. But you're totally welcome to it. But yeah, so here we go. We're just gonna do boop, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Easy as heck. And then I might even just take a little bit of my dark brown and go inside my trunk, just right up to the top. Give it a little bit of that shadow now that we have leaves on it to block out that beautiful sun that is not painted, but it is there because look at that beautiful sky, you know? Okay, so we'll get some of our dark green. Just grab some. And then just add a few more leaves just until you're satisfied. Here doesn't have to be any specific amount. I think that coconut trees can have as many leaves as they want to. That one's gonna kind of hide behind the other one. You can use a smaller paintbrush for this if you want, but I really don't mind the thicker leaves. Oh yeah, so we've got some coconut trees going. So now I'm going, well, actually, I don't know if we really have to rinse our brush if you've been using green like I have, because we're just going to go back into our jungle and we're going to add yellows and reds, and there's green on your paintbrush, so be it, because there's a lot of green in that forest. So I'm just going to add a lot of yellow, kind of create the yellowish green. You might be able to see like the yellowish green. So I'm just kind of add even more blotches, but not as many as you've been putting, because you still want to see all the hard work you've been putting into those background layers. So we're going to put in some less prominent layers that are just going to accentuate what you've been doing. And you can kind of see that my island is kind of wrapping around here behind this brush. So what I kind of want to do is accentuate the fact that this is separate from this. So I'm going to make this front part of my beach territory pretty light. Like there's a lot of sun gleaming on those leaves. But back here, kind of tucked away, it's a little darker. So I'm going to just go back in here, a bit more dark green, maybe some black. We're just going to separate it just a bit. Not enough, you know, to create a line, but just enough so that you can see that there is a separation and it's not just a jumbled jungle. Ah! Very nice, very nice. I'm sure your islands are coming out very tropical and lovely. I might add a little bit more leaves, just kind of coming on top of my rock, because my rock is also kind of the base for this right now. So just kind of say, hey, these leaves love you, rock. They are just all over you. So that's kind of coming along. What we need to do next, though, is rinse our brush. And you know, Hawaii's full of really beautiful flowers in so many different colors. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some blotches of color just around in here, just to give it a little bit of interest. My red doesn't want to come out. So I'm just going to grab my red first. Dip it in there. I'm going to try not to eat my hair. Grab some red. We're going to just do a few extra fun blotches. Doesn't have to look like flowers. It's so far away. You know it's a flower because of the color. And we'll kind of do the same thing over here for this guy. Maybe I want some purple flowers. There's probably a lot of purple flowers. So I'm going to mix up my red and my dark blue just until I get the shade of purple that I'm looking for. You can use any color you want. Everyone has a lot of different kinds of favorite flowers. I don't even know what mine is. Flowers are really pretty though. I do love them. I've got this dark purple. Fun. So pretty. Perfect. Okay. And then the last thing, other than touching up, of course, is we're going to make a tiny little wave right at the bottom. And I'll show you what I mean because that's kind of scary. Take my giant clothespin off. See, right down here, we've got this weird wave shape. Very relaxing to look at, but you've got to create it. Otherwise, we've just got this kind of flat looking water. We're going to do better than that. Unless you don't want to. If you really like your beach, I get it, because it is a very beautiful beach nonetheless. But I'm going to make a little wave, and I'm going to show you guys how to do it if you want to do it with me. So what you'll mostly need is white, actually. You might need a little bit of blue, but we're going to start with white. And what we'll do, we're just going to create some wavy parts. And it's going to come out. See how I'm coming out this way instead of just going straight down? Just going straight down, it might look like a hot dog or something, you know? So you want to kind of make a little bit of a curve to it. Make it look like it's currently crashing. So I'm going to grab some of the water, pull it up, pull it up. You can kind of tell that mine's coming up shore a little bit. Grab some light blue. You just feel that wave out. You just do whatever that wave tells you to do. So that wave is probably causing a lot of craziness in the water. And if you add a lot of bubbles and craziness in the water, you're going to be able to see that on the surface because it'll create a lot of lighter colors under the water because of the air. So we're going to grab a lot of white and light blue. I'm just going to kind of come around from behind. I'm just going to pull that out into the ocean. Okay, and then the rest of it is really just touching up. So what I would do right now is I'd probably grab some dark blue and a tiny bit of white. Just kind of lighten up some of these areas that seem pretty stark against the white that we put down earlier. So I just kind of blend it out a little bit. And grab some white, add some extra to the waves. It doesn't really look like a wave, but you can feel the wave, you know? Whoosh. Whoa! Feel like I'm there. Feel like I'm surfing these waves. It's another reason why I wanted to do this painting, because I wish I was in Hawaii. So we're just going to do it. Have some blue. It's looking pretty good to me. Now I'm going to grab some of my white. I'm just going to kind of come in here and be like, oh, you got glistened by the sun, little leaf. So some of these leaves are going to have some white little specks on them. Maybe a little stripe on the tree trunk. Because it is bright out there. It is a beautiful day in Hawaii. Hopefully, I haven't looked up the weather or anything for Hawaii, but here it's really nice. So we're just kind of adding a little stripe here, maybe a little on the leaf. You can't really go wrong with white highlights. You really can't. So we're just going to add some a little bit everywhere. Maybe a little bit here, a little bit there. My dogs are cuddling. It's really cute. It's right behind the camera. I wish you could see it. What do you think? It's coming together. I think that it's pretty close to done, actually. The rest of it's really just up to you and how you want it to look. But yeah, I'd say that we are about finished with what we've got here. My blue's looking a little choppy still, so I'm going to just grab a little bit of white, mix it around with my darker blue so that it mixes a little bit easier. And if you want to just make the whole thing a shade lighter or a shade darker, you can add a lot of water. Not like a lot, I don't like pour water, but add more water to the paint that you want to use to tint it or make it lighter and stuff. And it should just add a little bit of a tint to it. So I'll give you a little example. I just got my brush super wet. Now I'm mixing it with this. It's super wet, practically dripping. You can kind of just go over it. And you can still see a lot of it that's underneath, especially after it dries. You'll be able to see kind of what you put underneath it. And it'll kind of create a more whole group of brush strokes. Extra yellow. It's always hard for me to tell myself when to stop. I'm always like, oh, just a little bit more, just a little bit more. And then before you know it, I ruin it. You always got to learn when to tell yourself to stop. That's the hardest part of painting. But I think that I will learn from that and call it done so that I don't just keep adding a bunch of junk.
I think it looks beautiful.
Thanks.
Did anyone else paint along and have one they want to share?
Yeah, I would love to see.
I don't know who has cameras that they can turn on, but if anyone wants to share, we'd love to see them.
Yeah, I know that last time I still got to see a lot of people's after the fact, and they were so good.
They were.
I couldn't believe it.
That was almost the best part. After, of course, you painting.
Yeah, but that, I don't know. Whichever comes first, we can't tell. But I still can't wait to see them.
Well, I don't see anyone turning on a camera, but if you did paint, we hope to see it on social media.
Yes.
So that we can share it because it makes Shelby super happy too.
Yes, it does.
So I love it. Thank you for giving us your time again today.
Yeah.
This is a great way to kick off Mental Health Month.
Yes, woohoo! That's great.
All right, well, thank you guys for coming today.
Yeah.
And I think this is our last event for the week. So we'll have a new calendar for next week.
Yay. Awesome. Thanks for joining, guys. It was a lot of fun. Really gives me something to do, too. So thank you.
All right. Well, I will let everybody go, and we will see you all next week.